any of these books to be banned. But what was attempted, I think, by this was to try to get people to realize that there was some hypocrisy here and that maybe we shouldn't delve into book banning, Trey. But I'm not sure for some of these religious people that message is going to be learned.
No, of course not. 'Cause it's like we were talking earlier at the top of the show, their hypocrisy knows no bound, like, no, this is the way it is. Well, not like that. We didn't mean like that. But, anytime you legislate things like this, right, or have, regulate or whatever, you spell out the parameters around which something like this is supposed to work, you're gonna leave it open for using it against something like the Bible. They have to spell it out in some way. Here's the things that we don't want in books, right? Well, if the Bible has those things in it, which it does, then it shouldn't be in schools, right? Like objectively, and it leaves them with no recourse but to go like, well, okay, but like that's their, that's their response. Like not that one, we didn't mean that one, but should be objective when it comes to laws and regulations. So sorry, I remember there was a teacher in Florida who proposed this like way back when the book banning first like became a thing, and I'm glad to see that people are still still rolling this out there because I think it's the perfect strategy to highlight their hypocrisy, even though it will not work in terms of showing them, opening their eyes. But still, it might poke enough holes in the notion itself of banning books, or the procedure of banning books in a place like Utah. Maybe they'll just sort of leave it behind if enough of this is brought up.
Yeah, maybe some of the people who have made it their entire hobby and personality to go around banning books that they've never read and never would will lose a little bit of interest, maybe, if we're lucky. I will say there's one other strategy that the right could use to get around this, which would be just take the Bible and edit out the parts of the violence and the sex. But if you do that, just bear in mind that you're doing the thing that they did to Roald Dahl and that they did to James Bond, and like you hated when they removed that sort of stuff from those books. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Does the ban that you say, as Trey pointed out, you say all these things mean the books need to be banned? Well, it has those things. Or you could take it out, but then you're doing a cancel culture and you're being woke and you're removing all the fun stuff from the Bible. Well, I'll leave it to the religious conservatives in Utah to choose, I suppose. In the meantime, I will just let you know briefly, the Biden administration is apparently going to be appointing a national coordinator to respond to these book bans. I have a feeling that Fox News is gonna lose their minds over that. And we'll see what it actually ends up doing. The fact that Neera Tanden is one of the people announcing it doesn't give me a ton of faith necessarily, but I do think that it's a national problem. I think that it is a dangerous road for America to be going down. And I think that there does need to be a stronger reaction to it. Yeah, any final thoughts?
No, it's a horror, dude. I mean, there's been books written about the danger of banning books or burning books, and now it's like chapter 1 of the fascist playbook, and I believe all of that. You can't have book bannings, man. I mean, we got to push back in some way. So
yeah. Look, I will say, if I was in the business of banning books, the first book that I would ban would be the book about the dangers of banning books. I would ban that one. Then I would ban the rest.
That does make sense. Yeah. You take care of that one first.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for our show. Trey, once again, thank you for joining us. Where can people follow your work?
Yeah, thank you. TreyCrowder.com for my tour and a link to my special, which is on my YouTube channel and all that good stuff. It's also, I'm on all the socials at just Trey Crowder, my name. You see it spelled there, TRAE Crowder, on your preferred social platform. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good one, man. And everyone out there in the audience, thank you for following us. We got a full big old day of news here at the TYT Network. Indisputable is coming up next, and they're launching, they've just finished 2 years of the show. They're launching into the third, so definitely show them some support. And also go to the community tab of our YouTube page. You can vote in our poll for the community garbage person of the week. Brett Ehrlich and I will be breaking down our garbage people of the week, and you can influence that with your vote. For now, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Helping me break down news of the day, none other than Jordan Ewell. As always, an amazing analyst. Should be fascinating. Top story of the day. Remember yesterday, the male Karen we could not identify who decided to threaten, physically assault, hurl racial slurs? Well, he's been identified. Let me remind you of the video. Here it is.
Know who I am? Get out of my town. Get out of my town. You use my name again, you'll end up in a grave. Use my name again, you'll end up in a grave. You and all your friends. Just told you what I just said. Say it again. Turn around. Say it again. I ain't saying You're gonna call me the N-word? I just called you the N-word. Why? Because you act like one.
You called him names.
I'm gonna call Popo.
Yes, please do.
It's probably your dad.
You're gonna fake phone call. After you call me the N-word, you're gonna make a fake phone
You're
call.
literally on your settings.
Yes, I have my phone in my hand.
Doing anything to you?
Don't step on my foot.
I'm sorry.
That's assault. And that's assault. For calling me the N-word. That's assault. I'm a what?
You're a nice guy.
Dare you?
Put up the picture for a mask. Looks like this individual has some connections to local law enforcement. Very interesting update. This particular male, Karen, has been identified as John Shea, the owner of the Cape Cod Bar and Eatery, Trader Ed's, called Million Phillips the N-word, and also called him a monkey. After Phillips tried to prevent the bar owner from drinking and driving by calling the police. He also threatened to shoot Phillips in the head. The incident occurred in Massachusetts. This was June 5th. Let me give you the background. Phillips told the Cape Cod Times that he witnessed Mr. Shea drinking and driving while dining at Trader Ed's at 21 Arlington Street. The 24-year-old said he saw the owner order a vodka drink and noticed that his car was parked sideways and running in the parking lot. When he and his friends left Trader Ed's, they called 911 to notify them about the drinking and driving before taking a car service to Embargo, a restaurant and live music venue located on 453 Main Street. About 40 minutes after arriving at Embargo, Phillips saw this same person walking in and dialed 911 again to notify them. The group then decided to leave. And while outside, they notified officers from the Barnstable Police Department who were on the scene to help another person, a woman who had fallen outside the restaurant. I just didn't want John Shea to hurt anyone, said Phillips. That was really the only reason I said something. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Shea confronted Mr. Phillips outside of Embargo as the group waited for their ride share, and that's when he called him the N-word. Phillips told WCVB Channel 5 Boston that Shea also called him a monkey and threatened to shoot him in the back of the head. Mr. Shea clearly holds power and leverage in what goes on in this town, said Galloway. It was absolutely heinous. The situation isn't a possible hate crime, it is a hate crime. There's more. Shea reportedly apologized on Facebook, okay? Saying, and I quote, "This is not my character, and I will apologize to your friend too." He claimed while also accusing Phillips of making disturbing comments about pictures of Shea's daughter displayed inside Trader Ed's. The bar owner also told News Center 5 that there are two sides to every story, but declined to comment further, citing the advice of his lawyer. The Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office is reportedly investigating the incident after the video was shared on social media. Barnstable Police Chief Matthew Sonnabend and Cape and Islands District Attorney Robert Galloway announced today that they are investigating the matter also. widely reported by media. Okay. The media outlets and on social media platforms allegedly involving the owner of a local business known as Trader Ed's. That was in the statement. Phillips said the police, did absolutely nothing. Let me say this statement again. Mr. Phillips, the victim, said the police did absolutely nothing to protect him from the owner. If the roles had been reversed, he says, I'm positive the outcome would have been different. It was pretty disappointing. All right, let's go down the rabbit hole here. If it had not been for the coverage of this, you get absolutely no investigation. So let's start there. These individuals unanimously agreed that Mr. Shea was dangerous and dangerous enough to where they needed to alert 911, the local authorities. Actually, that is a responsible thing to do according to the police. The police are the ones who encourage individuals. If you see something, say something. If there's a hazard on the roadway, that hazard could harm or kill someone else. And so they decide to engage in that particular operation, alerting 911 that there is an individual intoxicated, driving, and noticeably not able to do so. Well, maybe, this is just speculation, maybe 911 or an officer or somebody he knows told him this was happening. It is interesting to me that out of everything that happened, he was never arrested at all. And there's no indication that he caught a ride share or abandoned trying to drive his vehicle. After the incident went viral, after coverage, we covered it yesterday. We didn't even know his name yesterday. All of a sudden, the police are investigating, the DA is investigating, and some other agency is investigating. What will happen with the investigation? Well, if we just stop paying attention, thinking an investigation is the goal or the victory, it goes away for Mr. Shea. They continue to move on, business as usual kind of stuff. So the reason these things become important in the societal context is because they happen routinely, where one individual is given a particular privilege and another one not. What Mr. Phillips said is striking and strikingly true. If it had been the other way around, the outcome would have been completely different. And why is there an investigation when I clearly see an assault happening on video? Why is there an investigation when clearly we see one man threaten to kill another and his friends? All of these are crimes. All right, Jordan, thoughts?
Have you ever been to Cape Cod, for one? I'm curious if you've ever been there.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you had the same observation that I did when I went, which was after a day, the only people I had seen were white, and it was just striking. I hadn't seen anything really like that. Yep. So that's not really surprising when you hear about this case, this behavior, and what seems like conversations, or I don't want to say collusion, but some sort of friendly relationship between this guy and the police. In some of the coverage, they said that the guy came out of the bar explicitly looking for this young man who called the police on Shea.
Yep.
How would he know who did that and where he was from? He specifically said, "Where's that person from Boston?" I don't think that's exactly what he said, but he knew where he was from and that someone did it. When you look at that culture, you could see like how white supremacy and that culture pervades in areas like this, where it is, it is almost a monolithic part of Massachusetts, and people who are not white, do not look like them, don't have the same class privilege, they're not welcome and they're treated like this. Absolutely. If roles were reversed, this would have a much worse and extremely negative outcome. Who knows? Who knows what would happen? So I'm glad that those kids made it out of that situation safely and okay. And I hope there's accountability, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, it is interesting because in order for police to share this information with him, that would mean a whole lot of people were involved, from the 911 operator to an officer to probably some level of supervisor getting in touch with Mr. Shea to tell him directly, here's what has happened, here's who they are. That puts individuals who are witnesses to a crime in danger. We will follow this story as it continues. All right, Mike damn Pence has decided, yes, he's running for president, but is he though? There's a super PAC who backs Pence. Well, it's pretty brutal what they're doing in the super PAC against Trump. But then Pence, who talks tough on one stage, talks not tough on another. Let's get into it. Here's the commercial.
A president begging him to ignore the Constitution. A mob shouting for him to die. And an anxious nation watching for one man to do what's right. A weak man appeases a mob. A man of courage and character stands up to them. That day, one man failed the test of leadership, while another stood tall. And since then, this so-called leader has continued to abandon our conservative principles. Now, with a woke mob trying to take away our freedom, we need a president who won't flinch, who won't try to cut deals with our values. A president with the courage and the faith to lead us through turbulent times and keep America the beacon of freedom for all mankind. Mike Pence for president. Committed to America PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Mike Pence is strong, a patriot, and willing to stand up to those who oppose him. Here it is.
But the question is, allegation that an investigation into obstruction, which you clearly did not do, if that is something that investigators see as possible, and even enough potentially to indict the former president, do you think that that should go forward?
Well, I would hope not.
I just want to clarify, what you're saying is that if they believe he committed a crime, they should not go forward with an indictment? You just talked before about committing to the rule of law.
Let me be clear that no one's above the law.
Okay.
But with regard to the unique circumstances here, look, those classified, I had no business having classified documents in my residence, and I took full responsibility for it. President Biden had no business having them in his residence from when he was vice president as well. And the same with former President Trump. But I would just hope that there would be a way for them to move forward without the dramatic and drastic and divisive step of indicting a former president of the United States.
Him scared. Think about the irony of this. Hey, Mike Pence, Donald Trump, the guy who tried to have you assassinated, that guy. When he is in fact found, criminally liable, or at least by way of a grand jury, should the grand jury actually indict the former president? Instead of answering the question, because Pence wants you to believe he's a man's man. Instead of just answering the question, he literally invokes that he is a criminal by saying, hey, I had classified documents in my residence and I did not have any business with them at my home. The man cited the law against himself rather than citing the law against the man he's running against. That wasn't the only irony. Here's another one.
Sir, if Donald Trump is convicted of a crime and you're elected president, would you pardon him?
Well, I don't want to speak about hypotheticals. I'm not sure I'm going to be elected president of the United States. But I believe we have a fighting chance. I really believe we do.
And if you are?
And I would hope, again, Dana, you're as persistent as ever. CNN is living up to its reputation. But look, there are real issues the American people are facing. And rather than talking about that.
Sir, you can't get through a soft ass interview on CNN. You expect us to believe that when the doors are closed and the individuals you are talking to have, well, let's say about 1 million times more power than the person on that stage with you, that somehow all of a sudden you're going to find your second wind, your strength will come back. But what about this question, since you like policy questions only? Here it is.
I'm gonna quickly go back to something you said about expediting the processing of people who engage in mass shootings. A lot of people who are mass shooters, they go in with the intention to die. So how would the threat of execution be a deterrent?
Well, I follow these stories just as closely as you do. And of course, our years in the White House, we saw one tragedy after another. And I know we hear that, and we see evidence oftentimes in the aftermath that they went in without regard to whether they would survive. But I just believe in the deterrent of the law. And I believe perhaps if we made it clear, I mean, think about this. The Parkland shooter is going to spend the rest of his life in jail in Florida. And that's not justice.
Oh my goodness. Do I even need to say anything about that answer that was not an answer? The man looked terrified on that stage. He looked as if Donald Trump was probably right in front of him. All right, that's your guy. Despite recent media attention, Pence has a little chance to actually pull this off. Serving as vice president has typically been a very reliable stepping stone to the presidency. That's the reason he took the job. But that step is looking shakier for Mike Pence, who jumps into the GOP presidential race in a weaker position than almost any other former VP in modern history. An NBC News poll released in April found just 6% of Republican primary voters are saying that they support Pence, while 46% back Donald Trump. Let me tell you why they're backing Trump. They're backing Trump because Trump appeals to the worst inside of them, and the Republican Party has had the worst among them for a very long time. This gives them freedom to come out. Mike Pence, you may be, a decent guy outside of the context of your backwards ideology, but unfortunately you lack courage. You are afraid, you are scared. And in order to actually defeat somebody in a political contest, you must be willing to run against them. Something that you're still afraid to do. Pence, the man tried to have you assassinated, sir. Either sit your ass down or run for president. Do one or the other. All right, Jordan, you have got to be just like, what the hell on the inside? Thoughts?
Yeah, Pence, just like most of the Republican field, remained totally silent until the very last minute of the Trump administration. Every step of the way, when they were ripping families apart at the border and separating kids from their parents, as they were trying to raise taxes on the working class and give a permanent tax cut to corporations, as they were trying to make it easier for oil and gas companies to pollute, as they were chipping away through judicial nominations and Supreme Court appointments at people's fundamental liberties and rights, ultimately resulting in the repeal of Roe versus Wade. Every step of the way, they turned a blind eye as they waged culture war attacks, social attacks, economic attacks, all of these different types of things, harming people. They were quiet. But then once it impacts them directly, their future professional prospects, or in the case of Pence, potentially threatening him specifically, then all of a sudden it's, I took a stand against Trump's behavior. Did you? No. You waited until the last minute when it actually impacted you. Then you tried to spin it into some boldness and bravery and moment of courage in your campaign ads. So they're gonna turn around in this Republican campaign for president, they're gonna turn around and act like they're somehow different than him after years of enabling him. It's totally bogus. And obviously I know a lot of the viewers will see right through it. I would hope a lot of moderate or swing voters do as well.
Yeah, and somebody needs to find Dan Quayle, because according to the narrative, Pence called Dan Quayle and said, listen, Dan, and first of all, I didn't even know Dan Quayle was still alive. He said, listen, Dan, I need to know, can I legally do this? Dan Quayle said in absolute terms, no. And if you do, you will be committing a grave felony. You will end up going to prison, Mike Pence, if you do this. So Mike Pence decided not to. The point is, he tried. He wanted to do it, okay? That's the point. All right, well, guess what? US Supreme Court says that Alabama illegally tried to stop, silence, limit the voices of Black voters by how they drew their lines. Let's put up the picture of the justices. The Supreme Court, in a surprise decision for many, ruled that Alabama diluted the power of Black voters by drawing congressional voting map lines with a single district in which they made up a majority. Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. wrote the majority opinion in the 5-4 ruling. He was joined by Justice Brett Kavanaugh and the court's 3 liberal members. Now, this was really interesting because that combination typically doesn't happen for major legislation or major cases. The case was part of a pitched battle over redistricting playing out across the country. Civil rights leaders say the redistricting process often disadvantages growing minority communities. Republican state officials say the Constitution allows only a limited role for the consideration of race in drawing voting districts. The case started after Alabama's legislature, which is controlled by Republicans, decided to redraw the congressional map to take account of the 2020 census. The state has 7 congressional districts, and its voting age population is about 27% Black. The new map maintained a single district in which Black voters made up a majority. That district has long elected a Democrat, while the state's other 6 districts are represented by Republicans only. After Black voters and advocacy groups challenged the map under the Voting Rights Act, the landmark civil rights decision enacted in 1965 to protect minority voters, a unanimous 3-judge panel of the Federal District Court in Birmingham ruled the legislature should have fashioned a second district in which Black voters either comprise a voting age majority or something quite close to it. The panel found that voting in the state is racially polarized and that it would be possible to draw a second reasonably configured district to allow Black voters to elect their favorite candidates. Last year, the Supreme Court temporarily blocked the lower court's ruling by a 5-4 decision, ensuring that the 2022 election would take place using the legislature's map, the one with the single district in which Black voters were in the majority. So what has happened? Well, number one, they've basically said, you know, that last election y'all had, it was kind of wrong. It was wrong. But no changes would take place. Moving forward, you're going to have to do better. Now, why is this even a thing? It's a thing because the Supreme Court made it a thing. Remember the Voting Rights Act? Well, before, we had to get what's called pre-clearance. If certain states, Alabama being one of them, wanted to change the electorate law, they had to get pre-clearance from the Department of Justice. That was part of the act. And then the Supreme Court decided to gut it and say, this is no longer a Supreme Court issue. This needs to go back to the United States Congress. And because of that, they eliminated the requirement of pre-clearance. So in order for any justice to be had as it relates to changing of the voting lines, a court filing needs to take place typically after they make the lines permanent. And then the legal process starts. Well, by that time, guess what? Damage has been done. All right, Jordan, thoughts here?
We're lucky. We're extremely lucky, and I think it shows just how fragile fundamental rights like this, especially voting rights, are when you have this cobbled together majority with Roberts writing the decision, Kavanaugh only agreeing in part. I mean, that's what got us here. But both of them acknowledging like this isn't gonna last forever. I mean, Roberts himself said like this is like we still shouldn't be doing this, but this was just so egregious and so bad, essentially, that like they're not gonna let this map stay in place. But we're not out of the woods yet. Like the states are gonna keep trying to gerrymander these districts until they have complete outsized control in all of these states. And eventually they're going to find some formula that works. And all the conservative justices are going to agree. The 3 liberal justices that we have now are going to be completely outnumbered. And we're just going to be throwing pebbles at bulletproof glass because they have packed the court with right-wing ideologues who don't care about the law, don't care about people's fundamental rights. And they're just going to rewrite history, overturn precedent, and just completely continue gutting the Voting Rights Act. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're still living in this, like, I mean, essentially they want to revert back to a Jim Crow era of voting rights. It's just, or the lack thereof.
Yep.
It's really sad, and it spells disaster when you have 3 people and there's no clear opportunity in the next year or two where they could even replace 1 conservative justice. So we better hope that a Democrat remains the president, whoever that is. And also maybe we can change the dynamic of the court. One way to do that, if they really want to put a full faith effort into it, you could try packing the Supreme Court. But who knows if that'll get through the Senate because of Democratic senators. It's just very frustrating right now.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, the right now Supreme Court sees the wisdom in the Supreme Court of the 60s that said pre-clearance was required. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Bernie Sanders wants to break Wall Street, and he wants to break it real bad.
What's happening? I'm Rashad Ritchie, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie right here on TYT. Let me tell you what we do on Indisputable. We go beyond the headline. We make sure that you know the full context of the story. And we also highlight issues that are important to the everyday person. We're talking about criminal justice reform. We're talking about the climate. We're talking about what's happening right in your local community. We also highlight very important issues that are affecting all of us, like the economy, jobs, and we engage in transparent debates with people who may not think like me. We're living in a current social atmosphere where opinions are represented as facts and lies are represented as truth. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
All right, welcome back. We still have a lot of show left. Let me go to some of these comments. Very good stuff. All right. Jocelyn, as always, a good person tries to do the right thing, calls the police for everyone's protection, is berated by a racist piece of you-know-what, and the police do nothing. This is the norm, unfortunately. Well, it's the norm when you have off-record connections. Yeah. Mo Fury, I don't want to talk about hypotheticals. What the hell else is a presidential hopeful going to talk about? Cream pie recipes. Yeah. Literally, you're right. They were talking about hypotheticals the entire time. Trista, Pence has mastered President Bush's cadence of speaking, looking real serious and caring while being a truly horrible person. All right, Gabby Mathis, welcome to Indisputable. Thank you so much for joining us. James Thompson, gifted 1 indisputable sub. Thank you for that. Donald Trump's 34 indictments. Member for 10 months. Thank you. Peace, love, and ice cream. Thanks for always bringing light to the stories that otherwise go untold. You are awesome. You are an awesome person, Doc. I'm just a guy. You're awesome. Iron sharpens iron. We appreciate your support. Tyler Hackner, gifted 1 indisputable membership. Thank you for that, Tyler. And Twitch. Interesting. All right. Dissident PM, 2 sides of calling someone the N-word. Get the out of here. Exactly. Like, sir, when your attorney told you to not say anything, that's what he was trying to avoid, what you just said. 2 sides to every story. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please do it. Please do it.
I swear to God, I will.
Throw it. Okay, throw it.
Throw it, please.
I swear to God, I will.
Throw it.
Shut up.
No one is saying anything. You came over here to us. Okay, and you're going to Ryan Condon. You come over here, you're going to jail.
I don't care.
You're going to jail, baby.
I don't care. Y'all are instigators.
No one is instigating. No one is instigating you.
Funny how we're instigating, but we were sitting here and you came up here to us. I can't wait till y'all are gone. Okay.
She said, I can't wait till y'all are gone. All right, let's put it up. Yeah. I'm still trying to understand. You see the move where she's like trying to get inside of the gate? I don't know if the lock mechanism is a complex thing to overcome. But typically at a swimming pool, it's a pretty simple design because children have to open and close the gate. But it seems as if she struggled to do so. Well, I don't know much about this story other than, according to the poster, the incident occurred earlier this week in a place called Spartanburg County, South Carolina. You know, usually when everyone else is laughing and you're the only one who is angry, that's an indication that you are the joke at that moment. Jordan, thoughts?
I got such a kick out of her run, her aggressive, determined run around the outside of the fence, just storm the gate and then just can't figure out how to open it. I mean,
right.
I'm thankful she didn't because she's clearly a lunatic and who knows what she would have done had she gotten inside. And this poor family just wanted to hang out in the sun and enjoy the pool, which is totally their right. And this person just wanted to try to ruin their day out of some weird internal hate issue. So that's the part I got the kick out of. But as you've shown on these clips time and time again, people just need to mind their business.
Yeah.
And people need to work on themselves. The hate within themselves, whether it's self-hate or hate toward others or both, fix yourself first because you're just gonna end up looking like a loser, just completely ridiculed throughout social media and especially on this show.
Yep. Because we offer a public service to the community, a chance for reflection, which gives you an opportunity for correction. All right, you're welcome. Okay, hell of a thing. A company accused of being a sex cult, major indictments have happened. Let's put up the picture full mass. You may have heard of the company. This is going to be an interesting background. Nicole Dayton, founder and former CEO of the cultish sexual wellness company called One Taste, and former head of sales, Rachel Cheritz, has been indicted. They've both been indicted for forced labor charges. We'll get into what those charges are. So Dayton and Rachel, One Taste former head of sales, are accused of pressuring participants into building their lives around the company's insular communities. Some worked for the company, some, and allegedly went unpaid or were pressured into performing sexual activity for One Taste investors and One Taste clients. There's more. So Dayton and Rachel were charged with operating this forced labor conspiracy. So Dayton is the co-founder, co-founded One Taste in 2004, according to the court records. It began as a company wood-paneled San Francisco warehouse where the founder hosted retreats for participants to do what? To experiment sexually and learn from orgasmic meditation, during which a partner methodically stroked a woman's genitals. Now, listen, that may not be your cup of tea, but at this point, right there, there's no criminal act, okay? That's just what they do. That's how they get down. They're adults, they can do what they want to do. The criminal act, well, that's coming up. Between 2006 and 2018, both of these individuals intentionally recruited people who had suffered trauma to join One Taste, claiming that the company's teachings could heal sexual trauma, according to the indictment. They allegedly pressured members to incur debt or open lines of credit to attend retreats and other company events. which in 2018 cost up to $60,000 for a yearly membership, according to Bloomberg. Both of these women allegedly assigned participants to share beds and encouraged them to limit contact with those outside of the One Taste community. Both then co-opted One Taste members as employees, promising wages and commissions for work done for the company that ultimately were not paid, prosecutors said. As part of their employment, One Taste members were pressured to engage in sexual acts with One Taste investors, clients, and employees for the company's benefit, according to the indictment. That's called pimping. Those who refused were allegedly harassed and humiliated. So one of the former head of sales, that's Rachel, was arrested on Tuesday morning and is scheduled to appear in federal court. This will be in California on Wednesday. Officials said, and Dayton remained at large on the run as of Tuesday, according to federal prosecutors. Yeah. So let's analyze what's happening here, because the theme or the scheme is very common. As a matter of fact, many evangelists have utilized the same methodology, making people feel as if the only way that they can achieve some level of freedom, mental clarity, is by engaging in these activities that seem, well, uncommon, not normative. But because of the desperation associated with the trauma that they have gone through, individuals are able to take advantage of a good faith person who simply is looking for solutions. This is why it boils my blood when I see stories like this. We have seen it time and time again. While yes, the covering may be different, behind the stage is a similar motive. Opening up lines of credit, engaging in activity to benefit the company or the ministry. And then at the end of the day, individuals are left in a worse position than when they started with that organization. Well, they've been indicted. One is on the run. More indictments may even come. It is a sophisticated system if true, if all true. They were engaged in a sophisticated prostitution ring, forced human trafficking, human sex trafficking. That's what this is, in a sophisticated way, granted, but still evil as hell. All right, Jordan, thoughts on this?
This is sick. I feel bad for the victims. This, like you're saying, this is a pattern that a bunch of different industries or religions or cults, sometimes those terms overlap, all follow when they want to prey on people who are just seeking help. You see it in religion, you see it Scientology especially. They single out people who, through these initial tests, revealed that they have trauma or internal distress that they want to work through. Oh, what's the solution? Lo and behold, it's funneling every last dollar you have into this organization. And if you try to get out, they'll harass you, follow you, blackmail you, try to ruin your life so you're stuck there. This had like an Epstein feel to it too, with trying to gratify, if you will, investors. It was a mix of like a cult and a sex trafficking ring, just really, really seedy all around.
Yeah. We will follow this, bring you the update. Guaranteed there will be many. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny. Bye. I said it was live stream,
but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members.
Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent. Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing. I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, aka Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. Referred to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool, rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because there's always got to be a super last thing. Oh, that was disastrous. This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
We've been around for about 20 years and we have about 20 billion views. Am I proud of that? Hell yeah, I am. We put out 20 billion messages in a bottle. Have we helped to move now 2 generations, millennials and Gen Z, to become progressive? Yes, those numbers are real. We moved generations. Were we the only ones? Of course not. But we have been the largest online news show for now decades.
right, welcome back. A lot of show left. I'm gonna read some of these comments. Archie 15. Karens seem to be attracted to that chlorine. So many pool Karens. That's another point of investigative prowess. We must go down this rabbit hole. There may be something inside of the pool. All right, good point. Okay, C. Michael Henson. Thank you, C. Michael. We finally figured out how to stop Karens. Use a pool gate. Honestly, I wanted to see her try to climb that gate. You know what, man, I gotta say, secretly on the inside, you and I are on the same page. Okay, we have Jackal Dragon 1991. So many Karens are going to come out. It's summertime. That's right. And hopeful heart and open eyes. This is a cult, pimping the poor. With their financial gain, of course, just sounds like capitalism. Exactly. All right. Yeah, I knew this would happen. Fox News is saying that Tucker Carlson breached his contract. Tucker Carlson is saying, no. Fox News breached their contract. Tucker Carlson has a new show. However, it is Twitter-based. Caveat, probably to the exact wording of the contract. Let's put them up full mass. This is going to be an interesting legal saga. Fox News is accusing Lil Tuk Tuk of breaching his contract on Tuesday. He launched a new 10-minute opinion show on Twitter, exploring various conspiracy theories. According to Axios and Mediaite, lawyers for Fox News sent a letter to Carlson threatening legal action. Regardless, the host promised to be back with much more very soon. He was dumped from Fox in the wake of the devastating legal settlement reached in mid-April with Dominion Voting Systems, which has sued for $1.6 billion, alleging the network knowingly spewed damaging lies about its machinery as it spread false claims that the 2020 presidential election was stolen from Donald Trump. Fox agreed to fork over $787 million to avoid a potentially humiliating trial. The network announced the following week that Carlson would be leaving, although it did not give an explanation. Now, there are many who speculated that Tucker was fired because of the lawsuit. I completely disagree. Other individuals who are more mainstream in the lawsuit itself are still there. And it was shown by various leaks as well as information made to the public. Well, almost everybody engaged in this malicious activity against Dominion. That's not the reason Tucker was let go. Tucker was still #1 on the network, bringing in much money. He was let go because other messages showed his true feelings for Fox News and the management and his own manipulation. So they canned the guy, right? There's more. According to Axios, Carlson accused Fox News, however, of breaching its side of his contract in May, setting his lawyers up to argue that a non-compete provision in the contract was no longer valid. Carlson said he was told his ouster came as part of the settlement with Dominion. Axios and Variety reported. Fox News denied that was the case. That's the one time I actually agree with Fox News. I think Fox News let him go for other reasons. Now, remember, Fox News, according to the complaint, they're the ones who engaged not only in the action, but they covered for executives who did as well, right? The individuals who are noted in the lawsuit in ways that Tucker is not. You look at the lawsuit, Tucker is actually barely mentioned compared to everyone else. He's kind of a side note. So I don't think he was actually fired from Fox News because of his lies. Lying was a requirement to be on Fox News. So he gets to this point, and I know a little bit about these contracts. Learning law has given me some insight. There's a four-corner rule in sophisticated contracts. Simply, whatever is within the four corners of that contract, that's what stays. You're not dealing with unsophisticated individuals who do not understand that rule. And so courts will interpret your contract in a more restrictive way, understanding that you had major firms who vetted these contracts, you hired these experts, what's in the four corners of these contracts cannot be disputed at all, whatever contracts they may have. So now you have one claiming, well, Fox is in breach. Fox is saying, no, you're in breach. And likely this is going to come down to what's in the four corners of the contract. How did they provide the non-compete clause? Does it say broadcast media? Does it say he cannot participate in cable broadcast media? Well, that may be a problem for Fox News because Twitter is not considered that. All right, going to be interesting. No matter what, Lil Tuk Tuk will continue to lie. All right, that's the bottom line. Jordan, thoughts here?
Yeah, it's still really surprising that they let him go because he was Fox's golden boy for years. Even as he lost hundreds of advertisers in 2018 and 2019 because of his vile, racist, anti-immigrant, sexist, whatever language. I mean, all of these, he checked every box.
Yeah.
They still held on to him. They took a loss on that show. Primetime is his hour was one of the most valuable hours for advertising dollars. And even when nobody was advertising, they held on to him. So I think your point is right. It was something beyond the impact that him or his show had on the network financially, which is really funny. It shows how petty they are. And you can see that in the reaction because they took the setback that they built for him at his home. They're making his life hell every step of the way in this process. It really does seem like he upset Rupert Murdoch or somebody in Murdoch's inner circle. And now they're just trying to twist the knife. It's been really funny to watch. And I just hope everybody loses in the process.
That's right. Let the games begin, as they say. All right, one of the saddest stories I've ever heard. Let's put it up full mass. A mother recruits her daughter after killing the daughter's grandmother. Candace Craig, 44 years of age, has been charged with first and second degree murder in connection to the death of 71-year-old Margaret Craig. Her daughter is 19. The 19-year-old, Celia Hardy, has been charged with accessory after the fact because authorities claimed she helped her mother attempt to dispose of the grandmother's remains. So sad. Police claim Candace allegedly murdered her mother on May 23rd, following an altercation, and then had her daughter dispose of the remains, which were reportedly being kept in a blue bin in her bedroom. While police were still working on identifying a motive, according to the press release, police responded to the family home in the 200 block of Hill Road about 1:35 p.m. This was on Friday after an unidentified 911 caller said they had not heard from Margaret Craig and were worried about her welfare. Candace Craig answered the door and allowed officers inside to search the home. When police entered the basement, they recognized the smell of putrefaction and observed blood tissue on the floor where 3 white plastic trash bags were located. The document also revealed that police found a knife on the floor of the basement and recovered a chainsaw, cutting utensils, cleaning materials scattered nearby. They also found blood splattered throughout the basement. Candace Craig is charged with first-degree murder. Her daughter is charged with accessory. A preliminary hearing for Candace is scheduled on July 3rd. She's being held without bond. This is what you call a tragedy, beyond belief, beyond belief. I'm covering this story because number one, I want you to check on folk that you know, okay? Check on them. The reason why there's some level of justice here is because somebody cared enough about the grandmother to not simply knock on the door, but to call 911 and say, I haven't heard from her. Can somebody check on her? This is not like her. Police did check. And they were able to find all of the incriminating evidence necessary to effect an arrest. Also, for young folk, I mentor a lot of young people. If somebody loves you, let me be very clear. If somebody loves you, truly loves you, and they do something horrible, they do something that's irrevocable, and they know they're going down, there's nothing anyone can do to take it back. If they love you, you are the last person they will call. All right, Jordan, thoughts here.
This is horrible. Thoughts go out to, surviving family members who are affected by this, and I don't know what would cause somebody to do this, but wish they would have gotten the help that they needed to prevent this from ever happening. It's really tragic. You see disturbing stories like this, and you always wonder why, and then we move on. Not that it's going to be a one-size-fits-all approach, but a better investment in mental health services and community resources to get people the help they need well before they even do anything like this. Is just, again, through this story and other stories that we've talked about and will continue to talk about, they're all just reminders of how people have issues within themselves, within their minds, that go unaddressed for years, and it festers into something like this. And this is how it manifests. We can prevent these if we took better care of each other. We took better care of our society and people within it. One step of that process is a better investment in mental health services.
Yeah. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
We're very honest that we're progressives. We call the Young Turks home of progressives, and we support progressive candidates.
There has been this reemergence of political activism, especially among young people.
This weekend was the second Women's March, both across the US and across the world. So these people are not simply marching, they're not simply talking, they're also running for office. And when they do run, they're gonna make a difference.
Joe Crowley is congressman from New York. He's very powerful. Why? He raised a lot of money. But there's someone finally challenging him.
We need to have representation that advocates as fiercely for working class people as possible from this seat.
If candidates like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez even get a little bit of media attention outside of what the Young Turks does, they have an excellent chance of winning.
She's gonna win. She's gonna win.
68% reporting.
The majority of Americans want Medicare for all. So I don't care what you and your corporate cronies want. What I care about is what the American people want.
We believe in total change. Everything runs on donor money. And that is what we will fight. And that is exactly why they don't like us.
We're having fun. It's election night.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has defeated Joe Crowley.
Here we go again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Crowley. Down goes Crowley. Down goes Manafort. Down goes Cohen. Populist left wing with a gigantic victory in Mexico.
Senator Gillibrand, you have made a pledge to no longer accept corporate PAC money.
Women came out in record numbers in the primaries. They said you'll be lucky to get one candidate. We now have 12 that have won their primaries. Bezos and Amazon announcing that they are going to go to a 15-hour minimum wage.
We're making progress. Let's keep going.
Many of these women made history.
The biggest victories, all women of color. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, Sharice Davids and Deb Haaland. For a long time, we have not had progressives in power. It's going to be something to behold.
I got pulled in. They told me, hey, listen, Cenk, we're insiders. We are the establishment. People in Washington tell me that they're concerned about your tone. We think that there's a better role for you, and it's not in 6 o'clock. The problem with the mainstream media is they're desperate to get access. They don't challenge the government. They don't challenge power. We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
Components that corrupt our politicians, I think, also corrupt mainstream media. It's really difficult for cable outlets to talk about things like income inequality, wealth inequality, when the advertisers that are funding their shows are the same corporations that want to ensure that the same system continues. People watch digital media or new media, they get a completely different message. They focus on the issues that matter or resonate more with the constituency. We need to know one thing. Is the corporate media incompetent?
Corporate media! I can't hear you. Establishment press, where are you? I can't hear you. But the media's position I am clear on. Everything is pro-war. So everything is just framed that way. In this case, I mean, war is inevitable, right? I mean, the defense contractors should get a couple more $1 trillion. You ready for the stunning results? Only 6% of people say they have a great deal of confidence in the press. Wakey, okay? Progressives don't like the media either. You know why? It's the corporate media. Corporate media sounds like a conspiracy. Wait. Who owns you? Multi-billion-dollar corporations, public corporations. Yeah, we're corporate media because corporations own us. Yeah, that's how it works. The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
All right, welcome back. Got a lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Trump's lady lumps. Can you really be charged with accessory when the disposal job was that shoddy? A chainsaw, really? Yeah. Laurie, TX, talking about Tucker. He doesn't have opinions, just questions he doesn't answer. Yeah. YouTube member. Carolyn Gunter, welcome to Indisputable. Thank you so much for joining us. And one more, we're gonna go to Twitch. All right, Hunger Games _1989. I don't think the Dominion lawsuit was what officially got him fired, but I think it was part of the reason. But there is something bigger that we don't know about that was the official nail in this coffin. I agree. I don't think we know fully all of it, but there's something else here, I definitely imagine. Okay, what if I told you? What if I said to you, at a funeral where a 10-year-old is being laid to rest because she was killed in a drive-by shooting, the funeral director, the one who owned the company, ends up shooting individuals at the service? Put it up full mass. It's a damn shame. Funeral service director Wilson Chavis was charged Wednesday in the fatal shooting of Mr. Ronald Banks. The incident took place during the burial of 10-year-old Ariana Davis, who died on Mother's Day during a drive-by shooting in DC. That's according to the Prince George's County Police Department's homicide unit. The suspect, the funeral service director, shot 2 people at the cemetery, killing one of them. What would cause someone to do this? There's a background. This background does not create any level of comfort for what happened, nor justification. It makes you even more upset. Wilson Chavis, 48, owner of the Compassion and Serenity Funeral Home, allegedly killed Mr. Ronald Banks, who was 30, who served as a pallbearer at the funeral. As a result of the long-standing business dispute with Freeman Funeral Services, a woman who was Ariana's cousin suffered a leg wound in the shooting. The girl's mother, Antoinette Belk, told the news outlet Chavis of Hughville, Maryland, has been charged with 1st and 2nd degree murder and also attempted murder. That's according to the county police. Let me give you the background according to the report. Chavis was setting up the funeral and confronted two individuals affiliated with a second funeral service company with which Chavis has a long-standing business dispute. Several funeral attendees became upset with Chavis and confronted him over his behavior. Preliminary investigation showed that following the dispute, Chavis took out a firearm and shot two people and then fled the scene. Several minutes later, an officer with Morningside Police Department observed Chavis and conducted a traffic stop. He was taken into custody without incident. There's a tradition. There's a tradition in our community. And when I say our community, I'm talking about the Black community. I have been to funerals of known gang members who were dead. Rival gang members paid their respects, and nothing happened adverse at that funeral. Not one child, not one mother, not one grandmother, not one auntie was afraid, because we have a tradition. Whatever the dispute may be, when we are in that place of vulnerability, when a family is grieving, don't come here with that. Mama tell you quickly, do not come here with that. But this business owner to violate this family's suffering by killing another human being while they are laying to rest a 10-year-old child, brother, you deserve to be exactly where you are. There are ways to handle business disputes without going to that level. Your job as a funeral director is a very, very important job, because you basically become the de facto psychologist, the comfort, the guide for people who are suffering. And for you to step out of that role, to literally become the angel of death for that family, I have no remorse for you, sir, at all. All right, Jordan, thoughts here?
Yeah, this is absolutely tragic. A 10-year-old taken way too soon by gun violence, has her funeral disrupted by gun violence. And I can't help but observe the irony in the name. What was it? Comfort and Serenity Funeral Services.
Yep.
And the guy kills someone. It's just ridiculous. It's very unsurprising that he would have a business dispute with another company. We really need to do something about guns in our society when it's so prevalent that it's happening in every possible area, every possible event. People are living under the constant threat of gun violence when they leave their homes. For some, it's even in their homes. The proliferation of guns in this country has been out of control for years, and nobody wants to do anything about it. There's some in Congress that want to do something about it, but they can't, because the NRA and the gun lobby has such a stranglehold over our elected officials and lawmakers that nothing meaningfully can be done. You think back to Sandy Hook when they tried to implement some reforms after a elementary school classroom was massacred, and you can't do it after that. If you can't do that, then you can't do it ever. And it's really, really sad, because we're going to see more stories like this, more childhood deaths of gun violence and funerals for them being disrupted by more gun violence. It's a terrible cycle.
Horrible cycle. But we continue to push back. We continue to provide transparency. All right. The police, well, he gets hired. He's fired in 2 days because he's racist, could not contain himself. They actually should have known based on his history. Let's put it up for a mass. Hell of a thing, okay? Chaz Ford, an Indiana police officer, was fired after just 2 days on the job when a pair of racist Facebook posts resurfaced, posted by him. Marion Police Chief Angela Haley found them so offensive that she immediately terminated the cop. Good for her. That's called leadership. In a statement, she says, "I do not condone this type of behavior and will not tolerate it." End quote. Both posts were made actually prior to him joining. You see them there. So these posts were made prior to him joining the Marion PD. One post included an image former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on the neck of George Floyd was captured with gas hitting 489 and climbing. Let's all take a moment to appreciate better times, he said. Another showed a cartoon image of a black man that read Martin Luther King. Okay, now let's keep those up for a minute. To the chief, I really do appreciate your leadership. I know that you're not in charge of going through the profile of an individual who applies for the job. I know that. But I also know that if you had a policy that required it, this may not have been a hire in the first place. Likely no harm done here. He was only employed for 2 days, likely not even on the beat yet. But in the future, let this be a reminder. You got to investigate cops thoroughly, including social media posts when hiring them, because it could give you a good indication of what they actually believe. Jordan, this is one of those situations where the police chief actually did catch it early, and the police chief did move in the direction that we all say needs to happen quickly. You fire the person right away. You already know what's about to happen if you keep them on board. So I'm glad that happened. Now, would that have happened if, let's say he was there for 2 years, 5 years? Don't know. Because all of a sudden you have a buddy-buddy system. All right, nobody knew this clown. So it was easy for them to let him go. But here's the win. The win is do it in advance. Do it in advance. Make sure the investigation requires a thorough assessment of not only your policing background and criminal background and education background, but also your social media background, because it is a permeation of your thinking. What say you?
Totally agree. First of all, I'm surprised this happened just because it's such a rarity.
It is.
I think you hit the nail on the head. If this was 2, 5, 10 years down the line, I can't imagine this would have happened. That's just the way the police unions operate and protect themselves and their own, right? They block any investigations, they slow down any accountability or totally block that altogether. They would all know him and look out for him because maybe in the past he looked out for them. 2 days, it's like, okay, yeah, who is this guy? So,
right.
Totally agree. Yeah, that it might be different, but yeah, I don't see any harm in looking into a potential cop's social media history, just as you would in many other job applications and job vetting processes. As we've seen time and time again, there are cops who espouse racist beliefs or even linked to white nationalist and white supremacist groups. Look into their social media history. I think it only makes things better. Not that it's going to completely eradicate any sort of problem of police brutality in police departments, but it's one step, so take it.
There you go. Well said. Some companies are now actually working with cops to clean up their social media background. So that's there too, unfortunately. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. The concept of the Young Turks means the audience, they are the Young Turks. They are the go-getters. They are the ones making the emphatic change happen in their local community. The reality is that we've always, young and the not so young, we've always cared about news. But when you do not see the messengers of the news look like you, when they do not share your experiences, exposures, and environment, and there's a disconnect between you and the news. I lecture in mass communications. One thing I tell all of my students, there is no such thing as non-biased news. It never has been. Non-biased news has always been an illusion. Let's go back to the 60s and 70s, where people would say that was the purity of non-biased news. News has a segment. That segment has a time. That time, you must do your story and be finished. That means the producer, the writer, the orator has to take out what they don't think is important and only leave in what they believe is important. They have a limited time to tell the story. They do not have time to tell everybody's version or everybody's side. And they get to choose the facts that they bring to you, as well as the nuance, which really is a word for opinion, that they bring to you, the context they bring to you. So we've always had a level of bias in news. Here's the issue. The issue is to not deceive individuals as if you don't have some level of opinion with your news commentary. And that's what TYT has never done. They've always been authentic in their approach to progressive ideology and their news analysis and political breakdown. And I think that's how you actually win the heart and soul of individuals who are consuming information from you, because now they see themselves in you. All right, welcome back. We still have some show left. A hero bus driver saved children from a burning bus while being pregnant. This is an amazing story. Let's go to the footage. This gives put up a picture of the absolute courageous individual. Munich Williams, pregnant school bus driver in Milwaukee, saved 30 children from a bus fire, 30. Williams said, and I quote, "I just feel like I had to stay calm, like with my job, to stay calm." I'll give you the background of the incident you just saw. Ms. Williams says her route on Wednesday started off normal when she noticed a strange odor and smoke growing. She says they were just a few blocks from their destination, Milwaukee Academy of Science. But Williams did not want to wait too long to stop. She says she tried to use her radio to call dispatch. Williams said, "I couldn't barely get what I was trying to say out because of the smoke. It was hitting me in my face, in my eyes. So I was just like, okay, forget the radio. Just get the kids off the bus." I think that's when it was like my mommy instincts kicked in really fast. And I was like, okay, come on, mom, let's do it. Let's get off the bus, Williams said. Williams suffered smoke inhalation, but is doing fine. She trained for emergencies on the job, but never thought she would need to put that practice into action. Put her up again, put up the picture, because I need everyone to understand she abandoned her self-preservation instinct because that programming was overwritten by her instinct to save 30 children. Now bring this to your attention because we have seen police officers in similar situations where maybe one or two individuals were at risk. And those officers cited policy as to why they did not save those individuals who were at risk. I'm not saying you're mandated to do so, officer, would be a good thing to do, but I am saying you are no hero. You are no hero. You are no hero. She is. See, heroes are not defined by simply what they get paid to do. Heroes are defined when they step up and do something that nobody could compensate for. And that's what she did. There's not enough money on the planet Earth to repay this bus driver for saving 30 children. Now, I want to say this. If anybody knows this bus driver, please have her contact me. I would like to bless her with something special, okay? Thank you, madam, for saving all of those children and the countless families that you have now, you have given them hope. Because if their babies were gone, their souls, well, as a parent, I know this, my soul would diminish. Thank you for what you did. All right, Jordan, thoughts?
Yeah, this shows the role of public servants and the way they help make our society and our system better. And to your cop point, think about Uvalde just a year ago. You saw footage of cops waiting in the hallways, getting hand sanitizer. They were outside attacking parents who were upset, who just wanted to know about the safety of their children. And they waited like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours before they even confronted the shooter as kids were getting killed. Yeah. So it's a perfect juxtaposition. Just wearing a badge, having a uniform, having a gun, being in this role doesn't make you a hero. It's what you do. And this woman, without hesitation, saved 30 lives. And you look at, again, the cops in Uvalde who hid and cowered in fear. They're no heroes, they're cowards.
That's right. And even to that point you just made, we have footage of mothers running inside of their school, literally saving children, while the cops were threatening to arrest them if they did. They abandoned, once again, the instinct of self-preservation and became heroes. Dear brother, always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to join you. You can find me on Twitter at Jordan Uhl, and my podcast, The Insurgents, is available on all podcast platforms.
Thank you, my friend. Until next time.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.